Well, hello there and welcome to the Rooted Together podcast. I'm your host, Charles, and today we are talking about Advent, which is the season leading up to and through Christmas. It's a season of longing for and waiting for the coming of Christ, longing for his return as well. So it both looks back and it looks forward. And those are important elements that we so often leave out at Advent. And today we begin our readings in Isaiah. We live in a weary world. O Holy Night captures that well in that traditional Christmas hymn. A weary world rejoices. Why? It's a weary world, but there is room to rejoice. Well, Isaiah wrote in a time that was weary. The Assyrian Empire was attacking the northern kingdom. And there was a lot of fear and a lot of darkness as they were winning, and they would eventually win and carry them away. And you would wonder, where's the good news in that? Well, Isaiah writes, and he says this, in the backdrop of darkness, in the backdrop of people wandering in darkness, he says, for every trampling boot of battle and bloodied garments of war, they will be burned as fuel for the fire. So he's saying those bad things, those things that are symbols of violence and symbols of oppression and darkness, they will soon be no more. They're going to be burned as fuel for fire. He continues and he says in verse 6, that very famous passage, for unto us a child is born and a son is given to us, and the governments will be on his shoulders. And so this Advent season, regardless of whatever you're going through, whatever darkness you're walking through, whatever weary world is around you, and whatever is going on in your life that makes you feel that way, I want you to have hope in the child who was born, and the son who was given, and his name is Jesus. And the reason why we can hope is because even though he was born a baby, there was a promise that he would come back. He died as a savior and he will come back as a mighty king. And when he does, it says that the governments will rest on his shoulders, meaning that all those things that bother us today, all those oppressive and unjust forces that worry us, will be on his shoulders, submitted to his authority. There's a greater king coming, and at Christmas we long for that king. At Christmas we look back that God had fulfilled his promise for Jesus to come, and we look forward to the day when he puts the governments on his shoulders. And he continues, Isaiah does, with this, and he will be named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace. The names of Jesus are wonderful here. He's a wonderful counselor, someone who we can take our hurts to. He's a mighty God. He's mighty to save us. He's mighty to redeem us. He's mighty to submit all worldly authorities under his feet. Eternal Father, he's eternal. Prince of Peace, he brings peace between us and the Father. He brings peace and will one day bring peace to all of creation. Verse 7, his dominion will be vast and its prosperity will never end, and he will reign on the throne of David and over his kingdom to establish it and sustain it with justice and righteousness from now on and forever. And it's the zeal of the Lord of armies that will accomplish this. What a wonderful promise we have here in Isaiah as we look back and look forward, and we look really just in our current time, and we celebrate in the midst of hardship, and we celebrate in the midst of a dark world, because the Son who was given has all those wonderful names and all those wonderful truths, but also that his dominion, his authority, his kingdom will be vast, global, eternal. And I love that. It will be vast and the prosperity will never end. It's a good thing. His kingdom will bring unceasing joy to a weary world. And he will establish it and sustain it. How? With justice and righteousness. And we look about our world and we see anything but justice and righteousness. At Christmas, we tend to celebrate joy, and we should. But we have to be aware that in the midst of the joy, we don't have to pretend to be happy if things are hard. You can be joyful and still have sorrow. We can be joyful and still acknowledge that there is unjust systems, that there are people who are suffering. We may be suffering, but the promise is that he will establish his kingdom with justice and righteousness forever. And that's a wonderful promise we have. And we look forward to the day when he returns to establish God's kingdom forever with justice and righteousness. And how will this happen? This is the most beautiful part. It's not by your effort. It's not by anything we can do or hope for, but it is the zeal of the Lord who will accomplish this. It is God's zeal, God's strength, and God's power that will accomplish the establishment of his kingdom for now on and forevermore, the establishment of justice and righteousness. God will do that. His zeal will lead him to do that, power to do that. So this Christmas, regardless of what's going on in your life, regardless if you're walking in a weary world or not, we look forward to the day where all the things that we see that worry us are crushed to the ground, that the Son, Jesus, will put the governments on his shoulder, and he will establish God's kingdom for now on and forevermore. And we rejoice and long for that day this Christmas. Well, for all of us here at Rooted Together, we're wishing you a very Merry Christmas, and we look forward to joining you in our episode 2 of Advent next time. I'll see you there.